My name is Dr. Nwoko'S Igwe. Today, I am going to present what I titled Igbo Identity and why Anioma cannot be in Southeast, since the Asaba of Asaba, by his recent statement, has nailed the coffin for Anioma state movement. I am from Ibuzo. I am the Odogu of Ibuzo and the pioneer director, Center for Igbo Studies, University of Nigeria and Nsukka. Intellectually, I am a historian by training, and no doubt one of the known experts in Igbo history and culture within the academic circles in Igbo land, Nigeria, and international space, and within the international space. I'm also an expert in the religious conflict within the same intellectual space. Traditionally, I am the Odogu of Ibuzo, the traditional generalissimo. So from both scholarly and traditional angles, I am very well qualified to speak on both the issue of Anioma identity and the probability of its inclusion in the Southeast geopolitical zone. I have just read an official press statement made by the Asaba of Asaba, His Royal Majesty Obi Professor Epiphany Azinge, son, in which he honorably resigned his position as the chairman of the technical committee on the quest for the creation of Anioma State, which was signed on his behalf by Obueshi Dr. Engineer Jude C. Mbeze of Knight of St. John. I also listened to His Majesty's recent statement on Arise Television a few days ago, Arise Television Network, in which he bluntly stated the impossibility of ceding the proposed Anioma State to Southeast geopolitical zone. I feel, with my privileged position as both a scholar historian and a prescribed traditional chief of Anioma land, it will be proper to put not just the record straight, but reaffirm my support for the position of His Royal Majesty. Anioma State will not and can never be part of Southeast geopolitical zone. I also agree with His Royal Majesty that those who are engaged in clandestine, what he called clandestine and delusional complicity to move the capital of the proposed Anioma State out of Asaba, are not only delusional in their evil contraption, but are insanely naive in political terms. Otherwise, they should have been properly informed that even an ordinary local government area headquarters cannot be moved away from its original place to another place without the amendment of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. As a scholar of the historical discipline, let me make this fast clear. First, the issue of whether the proposed Anioma State will remain in the South-South geopolitical zone or be ceded to Southeast geopolitical zone revolves around what is called irredentism in political, in historical concept, or what I generally call political history. In summary, irredentism is the quest to change existing political boundaries, either between two nations or within a nation, in order to integrate members of an ethnic group, racial or religious group as well, in another nation or within a state, within a nation, or in a nation within a state. In the case of Anioma, the identity clause here is ethnic identity. For irredentism to be functionally legal in conception, it must be driven with a greater force from within those who are directly concerned with the agitation or who are directly affected by the agitation than without, those people who are just outside sympathizers, but for one or two reasons want the session to take place in their favor. In the case of the agitation of Anioma state, the force from without appears to be greater than the force from within. In other words, those who are more concerned with the agitation of Anioma state are non-Anioma indigenes. For that reason, the project is dead on arrival. You don't weep more than the bereaved. But then, the fundamental questions are first. Let me begin. Let me ask this. Why are the people of Southeast so insistent on having Anioma included in Southeast geopolitical zone? Second, why are majority Anioma people insisting that they don't wish to be part of Southeast geopolitical zone? And third, does common language alone define common ethnic identity? Other questions might arise or might not arise in the course of our present discourse, but let's first deal with these three fundamental questions. The first fundamental question, as mentioned above, is why are Southeasterners insistent on having the proposed Anioma state included in Southeast geopolitical zone? So far, no profound reason is given outside the wobbly reason of common Igbo identity founded on common language. That's the only reason, nothing. Oh, we speak the same Igbo, we're Igbo, and for that reason, you should join us. That's the only reason. The arising question, this arising question here, this particular question, is why are the same people of Southeast not insisting that the Igbo-speaking part of River State be ceded to Southeast geopolitical zone? Why only Anioma people? Why their eyes on Anioma people? That is the arising question. Of course, the truth is that the Igbo of Southeast want Anioma people because of their petroleum and natural gas resources, and nothing more. They also want a wider political area to support their proposed, their fake proposed Biafran secessionist project. They want a greater Biafra. These are the only two reasons why they want Anioma to join them: the economic benefit and the quest for the creation of Biafra. Beyond these two conceited and self-centered political, what I can call political economic objectives, guided by vast, what I can also refer to as vile conquest syndrome. An average intelligent Igbo of Southeast, guided by white counsel, should have understood that Igbo ethnic spread across more than one geopolitical zone will serve collective Igbo political and economic interests better than being capsuled in one landlocked geopolitical zone without adequate natural resources. They don't think this way. They want everybody to come there so that they will dominate. This was, as an Igbo activist, which nobody will doubt me, this was our original conception of Igbo identity and unity that led some of us outside the Southeast geopolitical zone to sacrifice all we had in pursuit of Igbo unity, which unfortunately were never appreciated by our Southeast Igbo brothers. And of course, one can see the advantage of this geopolitical spread with the appointment of the current Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation by Tinubu, President Tinubu. He appointed the man is from Kwara State, a Yoruba man. So who can now tell Tinubu that he did not zone the appointment to North Central? The chairman of Independent Electoral Commission, the current one, INEC, is from Kogi State. He's a Yoruba man. So who can challenge Tinubu now while you're appointing a Yoruba man in another geopolitical zone? And of course, the chief of army staff is an Igala man from Kogi State. And as far as we are concerned, for us who are historians and ethnographers, Kogi, Igala and Yoruba are just the same language. So an Igala man does not need to learn Yoruba, and a Yoruba man does not need to learn Igala. But then, in the general contraption of Nigeria, ethnic identities, Nigerian ethnic identities, the Igala is a distinct ethnic group, and Yoruba a distinct ethnic group. The Yoruba have never said, Igala, you should change your name to Yoruba since we are speaking the same language. And the Igala have never told the Yoruba people, change your name to Igala because we are speaking related languages. But in the case of Igbo, The reverse is the case. The Igbo think they are the wisest ethnic group in Nigeria, but indeed, they are the most foolish. Common money-making sense is not common political sense. So Anioma State cannot be part of a geopolitical zone whose people's only focal objective is money-making without political sense or direction. The second fundamental question is, why are majority of Anioma people insisting that they don't wish to be part of Southeast geopolitical zone? And of course, this particular issue, this particular question is anchored on a number of economic, political, historical, and cultural variables. The major economic variable is anchored on the popular adage among our people that a dog's delight in following a pot-bellied man is that if the man does not defecate, he will definitely vomit. So whichever way he goes, the dog must have something to eat from the man. So the question here is, what do Anioma people stand to gain by joining Southeast geopolitical zone? Nobody. None among those advocating the cession of Anioma to Southeast, including the chief protagonist, Senator Nwoko'S, has told the Anioma people what they intend to gain economically, politically, socially, and culturally by being part of the Southeast geopolitical zone, outside the fabled contraption of Anioma is Igbo because they speak Igbo language. Is that Anioma people going to eat Igbo language when they join Southeast? Of course not. Economically, Southeast has nothing to show as a ground of attraction for Anioma people. Is it industrial complex, natural resources, or even agricultural productivity? So what is there in the Southeast that we now push Anioma people? Let's join this people. This is what we are going to go. This is what we are going to get. Nothing. Outside the time we are Igbo, we speak Igbo, and so on and so forth. In fact, outside on the main market, which is still in Anioma historical territory, there's no economic attraction that salivates Anioma people to join Southeast. On the other hand, the reverse is the case. There is also the question of differences in economic orientations. And people are not attracted to Southeast traditional method of acquisition of wealth or business-driven mentality. For instance, it is difficult to see a man from Anioma sitting side by side with women in the market, selling items or operating a provision store, spare parts or related business ventures, notwithstanding the amount of expected profits. The business of buying and selling is a vocation exclusively left for women among Anioma people. And that explains why the Omo, a woman, administers the market, even under urbanized setting, like the case of Asaba. So you want a man to sit there, the Omo will be directing him, be sanctioning him, and be doing, no. We have our value. Anioma people have their customary values, which they protect jealously. We guide it jealously. Politically, the South is not only the most corrupted political landscape in Nigeria in terms of political disunity, instability, and insecurity of lives and property in southern Nigeria, but it showcases the most bankrupt political leadership in Nigeria. Indeed, the problem most of the people from the Southeast advocating, most of those people from the Southeast advocating for the inclusion of Anioma in the Southeast have is that they don't know that Anioma traditional rulers in the and not politicians like Nwoko'S have the final say in the creation of Anioma State. They think Anioma is like Southeast, where traditional rulers are just boys or do I say errand boys to even their town president generals, their development union president generals. Not so in Anioma State. The traditional rulers are the custodians of our society. And when it comes to anything about state creation, their own words are final. Let's go even socially. Anioma people have nothing to learn from the Southeast because they operate in a much higher plane, being adapted for centuries to their multicultural ethnic spectrum. In terms of culture, what the Southeast showcases as sophisticated elements of traditional socio-political culture, religious or whatever, are mostly borrowed from Anioma people. So it's not a question of, oh, this is what we are gaining from the Southeast in terms of socio-cultural, nothing. In terms of spirituality, or to state the fact, or to state it, well, to state it in simple terms, traditional religion, Anioma people are very distinct from Southeast. In terms of religious orientation and related customs and tradition, Anioma people are more aligned with the Esan, Igala, Benin, Yoruba, Yoruba, and Isoko neighbors than the Southeast. In fact, in this respect, even Anioma people have different, even within Anioma people, have different orientation among themselves. For instance, the Ika proper made up of Ika South and Ika North-East local government area have more Benin religious and cultural orientations than Igbo, amounting to even, let me put it, 70% of their religious and customary orientations tilts towards Benin cultural and customary orientations. In fact, Ika dialect, in terms of exclusive vocabulary and tone, is about 60% Benin in orientation. Most Ika communities are also bilingual in Benin and Igbo languages. Aniocha North local government area represents a medley of Benin, Yoruba, Esan, and Igbo religious and cultural orientation. Here, Igbo culture is subsumed under its Yoruba, Benin, and Esan counterparts. This local government is bilingual in Igbo and Yoruba language today, which we call Olukumi in our traditional dialect. On the other hand, Aniocha South local government area, which is centered around Ogwashope, is, even though a mixed grill of Igbo and Edo cultural orientation, but has the Igbo has taken the upper hand, the upper level, upper hand, or whatever way you want to put it, in terms of cultural orientation. There, the Igbo are more dominance in their cultural orientations, and not just South. Coming to Oshimili South local government area with Asaba, Okwe, and Oko as its revolving centers. The main religious and cultural orientations are Igala, followed by Igbo, then Bini. On the other hand, Oshimili North local government area with Ibuzo at the center represents a medley of Igbo, Igala, Esan, and Bini, but with strong Esan and Igbo religious and cultural orientations on the parts of Ibuzo. Akuku Igbo, well, yes. Akuku Igbo and Atoma also joins Ibuzo in this aspect of orientation. On the other hand, Igala and Igbo religious and cultural orientations, stronger orientation can be found among Okpanam, Ubolu, Ila, Ebu, and Igala, and Okala. I mean Okala towns, Okala Okpuno and Okala Okute. So here you have strong Igala influence. Like you see them performing the Egugu, the one you have in Asaba, the one you have in Igala, and so on and so forth. So they tilt toward Igala culture more than Igbo. Ndokwa West and Okwa and local government areas, in their own case, have more than 80% Urobo religious and cultural orientations, while about 20% could be described as Igbo. On the other hand, Ndokwa East presents a more complicated scenario as a melting pot of Isoko, Ijo, Igala, and Igbo cultural elements, with Igbo and Isoko dominating the linguistic sphere. In the case of Ndokwa East, therefore, we have both Igbo and Isoko speaking communities living together. So you can see that, unlike what outsiders are thinking about our people being totally Igbo and so on and so forth, or fully Igbo because we speak Igbo language, we in Anioma land, we know ourselves. Outside don't need to come and educate us on our actual identity, on our actual historical origin. No. We know ourselves. We know we are diverse. Politically, we are diverse. Religiously, we are diverse. Culturally, we are diverse in origin. If within our own circle, internal circle, we understand this. So it doesn't need outsider can come and tell us, oh, you are this, you must be this. No, it is insulting. And it cannot be accepted. Finally, on the third fundamental question, which is, does common language alone define common ethnic identity? The answer is no. Common language alone does not often define, let me put it, often define common ethnic identity. In the first place, ethnic identity is a phenomenon constructed on three component variables. The first is historical origin, second is linguistic classification, and third, cultural orientation. None of these three variables is constant. They are subject to change over time. All change within time, either through transformation, modification, or even by extinction. They go into extinction and disappear. But there's only one thing that is constant among them, and that is nomenclature, definition of identity. What is your name? What are you called? So what a group chooses to be as its ethnic identity is constant, irrespective of their historical origins, linguistic classification, or cultural orientation. For instance, the Yoruba, Ichekiri, and Igala are virtually one common related language, but the people chose to be identified as different ethnic groups. So that is the subject of nomenclature. It has nothing to do with commonality in language. The same applies to Isoko and Urobo, Efik, Ibibio, Anang, and Oron. The Ibani, Kalabari, Okreka, and Ijon proper are different languages, more distinct to themselves than Nsukka dialect of Igbo language is to Anambra dialect of the same language. Yet, they choose to be classified as one language known as Ijon. In Rwanda, the Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa are not only distinct ethnic groups, but different racial groups, yet they speak one language, Kenya-Rwanda. So here, language has nothing to do with either ethnic or racial identity. We don't even know that Kenya-Rwanda, which people's language it is originally. All we know is that the three ethnic and racial groups speak the same language. The Ngoni of Malawi, Tanzania, and Mozambique belong to the same ethnic group but speak different languages. They adopted the language of those people they are living among, but they still maintain their identity as Ngoni people of South Africa. The ethnic identity remains constant, but there's no question of that. Their language has disappeared. Anioma people were never, let me point this out to the ignoramuses and those who think they know better than those who are trained to know and teach. Anioma people were never collectively known as Igbo before the coming of the British conquerors. We were collectively known as Eka by the Edo. Even among the Eka group, that is the present Anioma people, Eka group, there were distinct groups such as the Igbo, the Olu, defined as the Gala, and the Olukumi, the Yoruba. These were the constituent groups that make up the original Eka ethnic group in the present Anioma land. The British came and noticed the similarity of our language with Igbo, and subsequently decided to classify us as Eka Igbo. That was all. Before some of us started, the Oshimile and Ndokwa people started saying, no, we cannot answer Eka. That Eka should belong to a separate group. We say we can no longer answer Eka Igbo. And we turn to Midwest Igbo, because we felt that Eka originally belongs to Abo and the environs. But in effect, Eka was the general term, ethnic definition of our people. In fact, let's even take the case of my town. The fact that my town, Ibuzo, was named Ibuzo or Ndi Igbo Binozo, the Igbo living on the road, means that our original neighbors, the original neighbors of Ibuzo people, we are not originally Igbo. Otherwise, they wouldn't be calling us, they wouldn't have referred to my ancestors as Igbo people who live on the road. Which means our neighbors were something distinct, something different with my ancestors in terms of ethnic identity. So when Anioma people say they are not historically and ethnically Igbo, they are right in every intellectual sense. Because being Igbo speaking does not translate to being an Igbo by ethnic identity. It is an incontrovertible fact that about 90% of those speaking Hausa language in the North today are not members of Hausa ethnic group. And of course, a lot of people in the southern Nigeria made that mistake of classifying all of them in the Hausa, especially the Igbo, in the Hausa people, until a lot of them started protesting. No, we are not Hausa. We are Tie, we are Gwari, we are Nupe, we are Kanuri. And now we are coming back to base to understand that underneath underneath a traditional lingua franca are many or multiple ethnic groups with their own even distinct languages. That is the case with Anioma land. Underneath the collective Igbo linguistic umbrella among Anioma people, you have the Olukume people who are speaking in Yoruba. You have those who came from Asian, those who came from Benin. You have those who migrated from Urobo. You have Isoko. You have Igala speaking. You have also have Isoko speaking and Ijo speaking. In fact, my own local government, Oshimili North local government, we are bilingual because Ebu people speak Igala in my own local government area, and they are Igala. So, is it wise intellectually for somebody to now come and tell Ebu people that because you are living on Igbo land, you must claim, you must answer that you are Igbo. You must accept the fact that you are Igbo, when in fact they are not Igbo, but they are Igala. Culturally, linguistically, and historically. Anioma land, and let it be stated clearly, Anioma land is a multi-ethnic, multilingual, and multicultural subnational entity that aligns more with Edo than the Igbo. They are Igbo speaking, but not all are of Igbo ethnic origin. Let this be known to people. And our people never shared any form of economic and cultural political relations with Southeast Igbo people, except Onitsha, before British colonialism. In fact, outside Onitsha, from Obosi up, was a no-go area for strangers of the present Anioma land. But it was easy at that time for somebody from Asaba to trek what we call 1 week, 7 days journey to Benin. And that's why my people will always say, let me say it in our traditional parlance, Wadeji Ofu Boss Ejedu. You don't go to Benin in 1 day. It doesn't take you 1 day. It takes about 7 days to move from my town, Ibuzo, to go to Benin in those days. But then, beyond Onitsha, there was there was no record, or let me say there's no record that my people ever ventured in. To do what? So every aspect of pre-colonial relationship or inter-ethnic relations of Anioma people, or what we generally call intergroup relations, have been with the Benin, Esan, Igala, Urobo, Isoko, Ishekiri, and Ijo. That has been the pattern of our relationship. And that also colors our normal cultural orientation. Even during the colonial period, the trajectory of Anioma relations had always been largely westward, as it was in pre-colonial times, until Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, who professed Anioma identity himself, attempted to bring Anioma people closer to the Southeast as a way of liberating his Onitsha kinsmen. There was no time Anioma traditional rulers requested to be part of Southeast or Eastern region. The nearest to such contraption was during the short spell Central region, in which the present Southeast, South-South, and part of Kogi State were lumped together with Enugu as the capital. And Anioma people only demanded for a separate united province, joining the Abo division then in Warri province and the Aniocha and the Asaba division then in Benin province. That was our only request. Yeah. But it was not granted. In fact, the movement for the creation of Midwest region was spearheaded by Anioma people, especially after Chief Obafemi Awolowo appointed Omonoba Ukwu Okpolokpolo Nedo, Oba Akinzo II, appointed him minister with portfolio in order to scuttle, because he was a patron of Midwest State movement. Then Awolowo appointed him minister as a way of scuttling the Anioma State movement. The Obi of Abo took over as a patron. So Anioma people spearheaded the creation of Midwest region. Again, when the demand for Anioma State began in 1982, let's point this out. Because our people say, when you are pointing me to one hand, the other with one finger, the other fingers are pointing at you. When the demand for Anioma State began in 1982 with Igbo at the helm of affairs, then our senator, Igbo Obi Senator, Igbo now late from my town, Ogbaru and Onitsha and Ogbaru requested to join. But Igbo, their counterparts, their kinsmen, their neighbors in the Southeast, refused on the ground that the River Niger is a natural boundary. Again, in 1994, under General Sani Abacha, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Chief Dennis Osadebe, Chief Ukpabi Africa, and Chief Philip Asiodo wrote a proposal to the Constitutional Conference for the creation of Anioma State, with Onitsha and Ogbaru included. The same Southeast Igbo people torpedoed it. The true position today is that the three local government areas of Onitsha North, Onitsha South, and Ogbaru in the present Anambra State want to be part of the proposed Anioma State. But the question is, will Southeast allow them to go? Let's try this. Will they allow Onitsha people to go? The answer is no. Here, the same people want Anioma to be part of Southeast. However, as it stands today, the quest for Anioma State is dead with the decision of His Royal Majesty Obi Professor Epiphany Azinge to resign as his technical committee chairman. The date for his burial will be announced later. If we are sincere to ourselves, we should know that the present state of Anioma State agitation simply revolves around the desperate quest for the political survival of one man. Correct. To say it in Hausa Palace. Otherwise, the people of the two Ika local government areas and the three local government areas of Nwoko'S have no business with the so-called nonsense or madness called Anioma State. Do we see them cracking their head, they want to go to East, They've said it that they are not part of the Anioma state and whatever, or going to it. They said it, and that is final. Senator Nwoko cannot go to Ika South and be rambling what he's doing in Aniochus. He cannot do that. He cannot even face Day of Abo to tell him Abo must be south. Must go to southeast. He can only do that around his own enclave Aniocha and Oshimiri, because he can do that. He can't touch Obi Ifezomo of Owa. He can't go there. He can't go back to Ndokwa land and tell Ndokwa people, he cannot. He just dancing around within that Aniocha Oshimiri zone, because he felt that the people of Aniocha Oshimiri are cheap and he could easily buy them with his money. Just check out how many people from these areas, I mean Ndokwa land and Ika land, both among the prominent personalities and even the non-prominent personalities, are involved in the so-called Ohaneze Ndigbo organization. None. The other time, last Ohaneze, Nwoko appointed, I don't know who is Regina Daniel and who is Rita Daniel. I think Rita appointed Rita Daniel. His mother-in-law as woman leader of Ohaneze Ndigbo. Tell me who the woman was representing. We don't even know who is representing Anioma people in the present Ohaneze executive, whatever fashion that is existing. Ohaneze movement, Ohaneze Ndigbo. Anioma people don't know what is Ohaneze as it stands today. It is therefore, let me put it straight. It is very, very, very auspicious in our own side that at this moment, His Royal Majesty, the Asagba of Asaba, has found it expedient to honorably quit that political scam called Anioma State Movement. That was an honorable decision made by His Royal Majesty. And we are glad that he did it. If those who are claiming the people, let me even ask you, those who are claiming Anioma to people, if they ask today to tell us the ethnic origin of such Igbo common names as even Azinge, Ojowu, Obo, Ije, Osaji, Uduma, Ovia, Obagbene, Maido, and so on and so forth, Ije, Okwechime, Isama, and many others, they will be moping like salarams. Yet, these are the same people who will tell us, who will tell Anioma people in their own ignorance, in their own ignorance, that because some of us, like myself, Nwankwo Nwezigwe, who has a proud Igbo origin, because I bear full Igbo name, they're not fair because some bear Igbo names, they must be Igbo in ethnic identity, which is arrant nonsense. Because a lot of Olukume people in Ubodu, in Ukunzu, in Idumogo, in Ubulubu, they're Igbo names, but they're Yoruba by ethnic definition, and they still maintain their Yoruba culture and and language today. They be Igbo names. A lot of people from from Ebu, who are even Igala, they speak Igala today. They be Igbo names, even in Anambra State. Nzam today, the local government of Anambra West local government area. Nzam is Igala speaking, but a lot of them bear Igbo names. So bearing Igbo names is about what I can, what I might, okay, let me refer to it as a proximity to cultural advantage. You want to align with the people close to you, so that to go into them, of course, it is a form of a protective strategy, protective identity strategy. So it does not make any meaning. Even the Odogu title I bear today, which is popular among Igbo people, Odogu, they don't even know that Odogwu, the origin, the etymology, both the origin and etymology of Odogwu territory is not Igbo. Odogwu is derived from the Benin Edogun, commander of Oba's regiment, called Ekaiwe, which in turn is derived from the Yoruba Ologun, war captain, then Balogun, general, all of which are rooted in the Yoruba war deity of Ogun, or Ogun, whichever tone you want to apply. But you see them, Odogwu. It sounds Igbo because of the because of the syntactical addition of W there. Let me conclude by saying to those who may like it or those who may not like it, that Anioma people are not in a hurry to leave the present Delta state. Anioma people are not marginalized by any group in the present Delta state. They have produced what every other group is entitled to produce in political appointments and through electoral process. Anioma people are more comfortable relating with their Benin Esan, Urobo Isoko, Yoruba, Igala, Ijon, and Ichekiri kinsmen than even their Igbo-speaking kinsmen east of the Niger. We bear common names with the Benin and Esan more than we bear with the Igbo of Southeast. So let Anioma rest, and those agitating for his session to the Southeast rest as well. This is the position I take today, and that is my position. It does not matter if people agree with me or if some people disagree with me. But as a scholar, I believe that anybody who can take me word by word and paragraph by paragraph and refute what I've said, that person I will respect. Outside that, I'm not willing to listen to any rambling about what I said or what I did not say. Thank you, everybody, and God bless you. Goodbye.